Remember that mysterious charger we heard about last year, last September specifically? I think Apple called it AirPower, and then we never heard anything about it. We were told it was coming earlier in the year, then it didn't. Then every single month up till now, it was always, it's coming out next month, it's coming out next month, it's coming out next month. Well, finally, from Apple, we may actually have some evidence to say it could be coming out soon. Of course, take this with a grain of salt. Take this with a shaker of salt. Take this with the Atlantic Ocean's worth of salt, because it's very possible not happening because AirPower feels like it'll never happen, but here's some evidence to suggest that it might actually be happening. So yes, this is good news. It is hidden within iOS 12 Beta 5. While there were an assortment of new changes that I'm sure plenty of other YouTubers are telling you about, the one I draw my attention to is that they discovered within the code the animations for the updated version of AirPods, which this tiny variation that we're grasping at is able to prove that perhaps AirPower release is coming soon, because this version of iOS 12 revealed that animation AirPods have when you open them up next to your iPhone and how they're spinning. This one shows the charging indicator light on the outside of the AirPods charging case. To someone who is not well trained on AirPower, you would say, what? And if you are not a major follower of Apple News, you would probably see that and not even notice it because it's literally a single dot. How would someone see that? But someone saw it in iOS 12 Beta 5, and this means that they're at least getting the software code ready for the idea of these AirPods that have the charging indicator on the outside. That means, no, Apple was not just bored and decided to put the charging indicator on the outside of the AirPods case. No, they put it on the outside of the case because this particular update of AirPods is designed to be rested on an air-powered charge mat. You're able to put it there, know if your AirPods are charging on the inside without having to open them up, because this revolutionary new inductive charging pad will be able to charge not just phones, your watch, and your headphones all simultaneously. People seriously ask about this thing all day, every day. People are still asking me. Anytime we go live, they're like, so when's AirPower coming? And it's like, maybe never. We don't know. We know they ran into heating problems. We know they ran into software problems. So basically, any problem you can possibly imagine. And despite all of the interest in the AirPower charge mat, we actually still don't know too much about it. For one, we don't know how much it costs. We don't know if they're shipping a charge brick with the AirPower charge mat. And I imagine if they are including a charge brick, which for one would make sense, would definitely drive up the price a lot more though. And we don't even know that that cable that ironically ships with a wireless charge mat is a Lightning or a USB-C. I'm hoping USB-C because that can transfer a lot more power than Lightning can, and would make sense if we're trying to fast charge 3 separate devices on AirPower at the same time. But if they're able to get that done with Lightning, I guess that's easier too, because you only have to carry one cable whenever you go on your long trips and stuff. Sadly, based on all of the leaks we're hearing about the new iPad Pros, it doesn't look like they'll be getting glass backs, since we're seeing more and more aluminum casings and AutoCAD files rendered on the internet, which means my desperate dream to see an inductively charged iPad is probably not going to happen. But they're removing the headphone jack, so they're closer to portless, but I guess it'll be the iPhone 7 of portless, as in there's only one port and there's no alternative way of charging the iPad. But that sadly means that AirPower will just be for these 3 main devices, which is funny to me because they advertised it last year that it works with the Apple Watch Series 3, and yet so many people have bought the Series 3 and still no one can use that really cool feature that they advertised with it ever so long ago. It's coming up on the 1-year anniversary since we knew AirPower existed. The Series 3 has still, at least in the consumer market, never been placed on an AirPower charge mat. Now, maybe this is a good thing because you kind of don't want to release the AirPower charge mat and say, by the way, all of you people who have Apple Watches already, they don't work with it. You need to buy a new Apple Watch, which I know it's upsetting that it's taken this long for AirPower to come out, and they basically run into every problem you can imagine. But at least when they are releasing this, a ton of people are already going to have compatible devices between iPhone 8s, iPhone 10s, Apple Watch Series 3s, which sold really well, and I see them all over the place. That cringy, annoying little red dot, yes, I see it all over town. So we know that AirPower will be ripe for a larger market than it would have when it first came out, when every iPhone people had back then did not support inductive charging. Now, we had iPhone 10 outselling the market, iPhone 8 outselling the market, and even 8 Plus outselling the market depending on the time of year, which means a lot more users out there have inductive supporting iPhones, and hopefully that means that the market for AirPower AirPower will be a little bit more ripe than Apple may have been originally expecting, but AirPower, I'm still imagining, will not be an instant success. It will not be a top seller item because at the end of the day, we still don't have those new charging AirPods, which means that if you want to truly experience the benefits of AirPower, not only are you going to have to spend $200 on the charger itself, you're also going to have to spend $70, $80 on the optional charging case, or maybe just buy a whole new pair in order to truly experience the benefits of that charge mat. If you're just buying this intending to use it as a regular Qi charger, don't. That's a bad idea. You can buy $10 or $20 Qi chargers that will charge things very fast, and this is $200. You definitely only want to get AirPower if you have all three of these devices, which is why I've said if you don't have a Series 3 and you don't have an iPhone 8 or 10, don't bother waiting for the new AirPods. Just buy them now. You're gonna have to buy a new phone, new watch before AirPower can actually be utilized for you. But if you have a Series 3, if you have an iPhone 8 or 10, yes, it's been awkward all year, but you might want to hold off on buying AirPods a little bit longer if these iOS 12 betas end up being true and are showing us that the refresh to that charging case is imminent. So it's amazing that we're able to learn so much from just one tiny little graphical update. And of course, I do want to be a little bit skeptical about this. Perhaps AirPower was so complicated to manufacture and make that Apple scrapped the idea entirely. By the next website refresh, we won't see AirPower on their website anymore. And maybe Apple just literally wanted to put the charging indicator on the outside of the case, because even if you don't use AirPower, that's actually more easy, that you don't have to flip up the cap every single time you want to see if it's charging correctly. You can just look at the light on the outside. That also makes logical sense. So I could see why they would do that and say, nah, nothing's changed other than the light. AirPower's gone. We failed. We couldn't figure it out. I'm desperately hoping that's not the case, but we definitely need to be a bit more skeptical, especially with Apple this year, at least in my opinion, continuously disappointing us with refreshes, launches, and not meeting requirements or expectations that we were hoping for. Gotta keep those expectations low, okay? Don't get too excited here. Anyway, are you guys still interested in AirPower after hearing about all these delays and hearing about what it may cost? If you are, please let me know in the comments below. I want to hear from you. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.